This is the crispiest, tastiest fried chicken we've ever tried in the test kitchen. I mean, look at that. You've got all those little craggy bits, really crispy chicken. The moment of truth, that is so succulent. Keep on watching to find out what the secrets are to our ultimate fried chicken. This is the ultimate, where we take a dish you already love and show you exactly how to make it properly at home with techniques that actually make a difference. Today it's fried chicken, crispy, golden, properly seasoned fried chicken. And what I love about making it yourself is you control everything. The cut, the quality, the seasoning, and the crunch. And best of all, you get to eat it when it's at its absolute best. We've tested this to get the most dramatic, craggy coating possible without making it fussy. So let's get into it. Before we start, a few bits of kit. You'll want a bowl for the brine, a wide tray or gratin dish for the flour coating. This gives you lots more room to work and keeps the mess down. And for frying at home, either a wok or a casserole pan. A wok is great because the shape helps you fry efficiently with a bit less oil. A casserole pan is my choice because it's heavy, stable, holds the heat really well, and keeps the temperature steady. You'll want some tongs. These are the easiest way to keep everything clean when you're coating, and ideally a thermometer for the oil. Right then, the first big decision I had to make when I was writing this recipe was which cut to use. We're using boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Now, I know traditionally fried chicken is often skin on the bone, but here's my issue with that. The skin can come away from the meat, and when the skin comes off, so does all that beautiful coating. Boneless, skinless chicken thighs are much more forgiving. They stay juicy, they cook more evenly, and they give you flexibility. The one thing about thighs is that they're a little bit uneven. They're sort of fatter on this side and skinnier on this one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bat them out between a piece of greaseproof paper just to make them lovely and even. Batting it out with a rolling pin not only evens the thickness of the chicken thigh, it also starts to tenderize, because when you bat meat out, it starts to tenderize the meat. Now here we have what I think is the perfect piece of chicken for deep frying. It hasn't been pulverized. We're not trying to make it super thin like you would for schnitzel. We're just trying to even out that texture, perfect for deep frying. Now for the spice mix. This is where you can get a bit creative and take things in different directions, but we've gone with something quite classic. Mildly spicy rather than aggressively hot, warm, savory, a bit smoky and really balanced. So in here I've got some paprika, I've got some garlic granules, I've got some chili powder, black pepper and oregano. But the thing that takes it really up a notch is a stock cube. Now this is my top tip when it comes to seasoning chicken. A chicken stock cube. You're basically seasoning chicken with chicken and just boosting that umami flavor. This recipe's had loads of 5-star likes, really, really good reviews, lots of fantastic comments. One comment I did see on our website is that people said, depending on how sort of brittle or how soft your stock cube is, it clumped in the seasoning. Now the way to stop that happening is to really work it in with your fingers, and then that becomes part of the seasoning and it crumbles down. What's clever about this recipe is we don't just use this spice mix in one place, we layer it through the whole thing, into the brine, into the flour, then right at the end as a finishing salt. So the chicken is seasoned throughout, not just on the outside. Now for the brine. Loads of recipes tell you to go out and buy buttermilk, but you really don't need to. We're making our own buttermilk. I'm going to pour my milk and my vinegar together. The acid in the vinegar is going to curdle the milk slightly and give you that tang that we associate with fried chicken. We're also going to add an egg, and this egg is going to thicken things up a little bit and just act like glue and just helps the whole mixture stick to the chicken. To this, I'm going to take some of our chicken stock seasoning, add about a tablespoon to our brine, whisk through it, and then also to season the chicken and to help it tenderize, we're going to add about a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add my chicken to the brine. Now we're going to leave this for at least 4 hours. Listen, up to 48. A very happy medium is overnight. For an actual brine to work, it is minimum 4 hours. So now we're going to cover it with a plate. No cling film in this kitchen. And then we're going to chill it. Now for the coating, we're using 2 types of flour here. First, we've got self-raising flour. Self-raising flour is important because it contains baking powder. When the coating hits the hot oil, the baking powder creates tiny bubbles. Those bubbles leave behind lots of little gaps in the crust, and the gaps make the fried chicken feel lighter, crispier, crunchier, and more craggy. For me, baking powder is basically a non-negotiable for really good fried chicken. Now, if all you have is plain flour, that's absolutely fine. Use plain flour, not strong flour, and a teaspoon of baking powder. Now, the reason we're not using strong flour is because strong flour contains more protein. And when protein gets wet, it creates gluten. And we don't want too much gluten in this, because when gluten fries, it goes tough and stringy rather than super crispy. Now corn flour, this is pure starch. This brings crispiness. It sort of brings down the protein level of the plain flour. It makes the coating extra brittle and really crunchy. Now we're going to use a little bit of turmeric, which is totally optional, but it just helps with that deep golden color. And now to season the flour, we're going to use all but a teaspoon of that fantastic spice mix that we made up earlier. And then we're just going to give that a good whisk. Now, whisk is the easiest way of mixing this flour mixture together. And then we're just going to add a good pinch of salt. What makes this chicken super tasty is that we're seasoning it throughout, right from the brine, right through to the end. Right, this is the step that changed everything when I tested this recipe. First off, we're going to use our tongs, because I think tongs are an absolute game changer. I have been doing this for years. I've been breading my hands, and look how easy it is with tongs. And we're just going to lift it through that flour. If we want to take this to the next level, which is what we're doing now, we're going to put it back in that milk, and then we're going to put it back in the flour. And that double dip is going to make all the difference. Double dredging it is the way to go. Right then, let's fry. Now, the target temperature I'm looking for of the oil is 175 degrees. If the oil is too hot, the coating's going to burn before the chicken's cooked through. If it's too cool, then the coating's going to absorb oil and go greasy instead of going crisp. A thermometer makes this really easy, but you don't have to have a thermometer. What I'm looking for is a shimmer on the oil. And when the chicken goes in, we are looking for bubbles. If you don't have bubbles, it's going to be really greasy. When you're adding anything to oil, these tongs really come into their own. But another tip is always to lay it in the oil away from you. So if any hot oil does splash back, it won't splash against you. See those bubbles? That's exactly what we're after. That shows us that we're cooking at the right temperature. It needs to be fizzy. A bit like when you drop an ice cube into a fizzy drink that's just been poured. And that is the perfect temperature for frying on. Now, when the chicken goes in, it's going to lower the temperature of that oil by about 10 degrees. So what I tend to do is when I put the chicken in, I then just turn the stove up, maybe 1 or 2 notches. We don't want it to bubble lots and lots and lots. We just want this really lovely fizziness around the oil. Now the chicken's going to take 6 to 8 minutes. We're going to cook it for about 3 minutes on one side. Then we're going to flip it with our tongs, and then it's ready to go. Deep frying at home doesn't have to be complicated. It's quite a straightforward method, but the one thing you must remember is to use a neutral oil, so an unflavored oil like a sunflower or a vegetable or a peanut oil, because there's a higher burning temperature, and that's what's going to give you that beautiful crispness on the chicken. I mean, look at that. Come on. That is just the most unbelievably crispy chicken. I can't wait to eat that. And once my chicken is cooked, I'm putting it on a wire rack. The reason I'm putting it on a wire rack and not kitchen paper is because when you sit it on kitchen paper, the underside starts to steam and that coating goes soggy. So if you can, put it on a wire rack. Now you can put this in a low oven to keep warm, but to be honest, that's so hot anyway. By the time all of it is cooked, I'm going to be eating it straight away, and it's absolutely fine to sit for a few minutes. Guys, now let's address it. Leftover oil. This oil is fine for frying with a few more times, but once you're finished with it, the best thing to do is to cool it down, put it back into the bottle it came in, and check with your local council where it can be recycled. Ta-da! Now remember that teaspoon of spice mix we held back earlier? This is what it's for. Mix this with some flaky sea salt, so about a tablespoon of flaky sea salt, and what you have here is some homemade chicken salt. Now this is going to be the finishing touch to this beautiful chicken. It's going to bring that spice right to the surface of the fried chicken and just boost that chicken flavor. We're seasoning chicken with chicken, and that is our chicken done. And look how crispy that is. Oh, that is so succulent, perfectly cooked. And because it's thigh, it hasn't dried out. And now the moment of truth. You catch that crunch? Immense, one more time. Oh my God, that is so good. Honestly, absolutely delicious. And you know what? I think that deserves to be called the ultimate.